Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the Melvin Metzger Show. Live from London, hosted on the Then and Now Media platform. My show is diverse, and it focuses on a range of topics, including culture, music, fashion, relationships, health, education, religion, media, food, and sports. I engage guests from around the world, and they will be able to tell us their stories, their challenges, their achievements, and their successes. The Melvin Metzger Show aims to motivate, educate, inform, and share ideas and experiences. The program for today is as a result of the Rebel War that happened 30 years ago. The Rebel War started on the 23rd of March, 1991. On May 1997, the rebels entered the capital city, Freetown, and it was a senseless war, brutal, and it claimed over 50,000 lives. It was horrendous. Horrendous crimes were committed against fellow Sierra Leoneans by the rebels. It's been 30 years since, and the effects are still felt to this day. This anniversary brings back painful memories, which brings us to our topic and guest for today, who decided to do something about the situation of the amputees. Melqosh Mission was founded on the 6th of April, 2008. It celebrated 13 years of excellence yesterday, and their work with the war victims in Sierra Leone has been exceptional. Their work also includes transforming the lives of their dependents, widows, orphans of deceased amputees, rape victims from the war, and the war wounded. With no government, national or international support, these war victims are the world's endangered species of humanity. Today on my show, I've got a guest who's been doing an incredible work supporting people with disabilities, and our mission educates, empower blood diamond victims. She's also a best-selling author and motivational speaker. Her book is on Amazon, which can be found bought from Amazon, the Melqosh Bust Fort, that's the name of her book. We are honored today to have as our guest tonight, the founder and CEO of Melqosh International Mission, Faith Okrafo-Smart. Welcome to the Melvin Metzger Show.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes. I think I have to start by congratulating you on the anniversary of your mission, which was launched in 2008. Congratulations, Faith.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. To all our viewers, we're broadcasting live from London. And on this show, you can send birthday requests for your friends, families, colleagues, and we'll read them out here on the show and give them a shout out and wish them a happy birthday on your behalf. Also, we are able to send, while we're sending these birthday wishes, you can send a text on the telephone number 077-27639-048. That's the number which you can use to send your birthday requests so that we can read them out to your friends or colleagues. Right, Faith Okrafo-Smart, I welcome you once again.
Thank you.
Right, Melqosh Mission International. I was gonna start with the color purple, but I think I've put enough of that on the flyers. So what was the objective? What was the objective behind Melqosh Mission International?
Well, I'll start off by saying that Melqosh means latter rain in Hebrew. And so it's a prophetic name for a mission that was birthed by God. The vision was given in 2004 November. And after much procrastination and prayer, thinking of how to do such a huge assignment, because I'd left Sierra Leone as a teenager, not knowing where to start, what to start. I took a leap of faith, April 2008, and I went to Sierra Leone. But the passion was actually birthed when I went to Sierra Leone in 2001, after being away for quite a long time. And when I went to Sierra Leone, I realized that the Sierra Leone that I'd left was not the um, Sierra Leone that greeted me. And so I knew I did not want to go to Sierra Leone and be a JC, but I'd wanted to go return back and be a change maker. So the passion was birthed then, and then the vision was given. Um, 3 years later, 2004, and then another 4 years passed, and then I took a leap of faith and I started off the mission, and the rest is history.
Right, the rest is history. But the name Melqosh, how did that come about?
Well, I had an inkling in my spirit that I wouldn't say inkling. The name was given by God, latter rain, and but then when I spoke to my father and the Lord, just at the commencement of the vision, just trying to see how things would pan out, and my father and the Lord said to me, there are too many ministries called latter rain. I think you should change it. But then I couldn't shake off the name, and so I started researching, checking out other names. Nothing resonated with my spirit. And then I just one day woke up with the realization of, why not stick to the original name that God has given, but use one of the oldest languages in the world, which is Hebrew. And so I went on, started researching, looking for a name that, because with the Hebrew language, you got to be very careful, because one word, like for example, latter rain, can have 5 or 10 variations. So I had to do my research, and I finally found Melqosh, which actually had the translation from in the Bible where it says that the former, the latter shall be greater than the former. And in that, it actually, literally gave an illustration of what God is going to do with the war victims, because one of the things the Lord had said to me, that many of the war victims had faced, former reign of affliction, pain, amputation, rape, displacement, marginalization, rejection, neglect. And he said that the latter rain, which will be greater than the former rain, would be latter rain of restoration, latter rain of transformation. And so that was how it started off. And I tell you, the name has worked perfectly with what we do.
Wow, you seem to have placed God at the center of all things Melqosh. So like the name Melqosh, like you said, is a Hebrew word, and you seem to have a very religious connection with your mission. Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you started this mission, is it from any personal experiences, or what's any family connections that made you start this mission?
Well, yes. Whilst I did not have any family or friend or somebody close to me that was a war amputee, nonetheless, a family member of mine was closely affected by the war. We had left Sierra Leone when I was a teenager, and my mother and my siblings, we moved to the UK. And so when the war started off, as early as 1991, I remember my father sending me a message and saying that, many of the, the war had started off in the provinces and things were very shaky. And, one of the things I was thinking is that, Dad, you need to leave Sierra Leone. And he was like, no, I've got, I'm the head of the family, I can't leave. My father was a former member of, member of parliament in Sierra Leone in 1982. He was an MP for Maboroka, the town of Maboroka. And so because of his responsibility, not only to his family, but to his constituents and as a whole, because he was a patriotic man, even after he had left politics, he had deep roots, deep connections with what he was doing. He decided not to leave Sierra Leone, and he paid the biggest price. And so during the war, war rebels attacked him. The first time they came to the house, they just at the time that they were about to loot the house, one of the rebels, war rebels, said, no, he's one of the good politicians, because my father, when he was a member of parliament, his salary went to Cheshire Home, Freetown Cheshire Home. So in fact, he gave of his to the country as opposed to looting the country as what we perceive now is happening in Sierra Leone, unfortunately. But he was one of the true patriots. And so because of his reputation as a good man, a humanitarian man, he was let, well, they set him free. But he wasn't so blessed the second time. And the second time, the war rebels that came basically looted the house, gunshots, the two houses, back and front were just riddled with bullets in the house. They stayed in the house for over 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, they beat him to unconsciousness, dragged him in the streets, tied him to a tree, poured kerosene over him, put a tire to his neck. And just about the time they were about to light the match to burn him alive was when the ECMOG soldiers came and saved him at the nick of time and airlifted him to a private hospital at Lunge. Meanwhile, it was at the same time one of our family friends, Honorable Musa Kabia, had also been burnt and killed at the time. He had been killed by the rebels. So many people had thought that my dad had, faced the same fate. Actually, many of the people who were running for their lives, they saw the attack, they saw the pouring of the petrol, so they assumed that he had been burnt alive. So the message we got in the UK was that he had been burnt alive, that he was no more. And so for 3 months, we did not even know how to mourn our father because there were no remains for us to have closure. We just didn't know what was happening. There was no way to get any information because everyone was running for their lives. And fortunately, after 3 months, we got to hear that my father was alive. And so, but then he never recovered from that ill health. From the beating, he had massive strokes, reoccurring strokes. And towards 2000, I was told that that if I do not go to Sierra Leone, I may never see my father alive. So I took a leap of faith and I went to Sierra Leone in 2001 to see my dad. When I got to the airport, I was looking for my father. My father was right in front of me, but I did not recognize him because he was half the man I left. And so I know the personal experience of the pains and the ravages of war, and plus what I saw in Sierra Leone, buildings burned, heard, horror stories of families, at the time I'd not met war victims. I'd heard about the war amputees at Moritown, Aberdeen, but never got to see them. So over the last 3 years, went back and forth, and my dad passed away 2004, 31st of March. And so that same year was when the Lord gave me the vision that I must start Melqosh Mission. Sometimes when God gives you an assignment, you mentioned that it seems like it's God-centered. Yes, it's God-centered. The secret of our success, the secret of our continuity is because we're not just a charity, we're a ministry. It was God-oriented, it was God-directed, and it's continually a God-instructed mission. And so I got the word from Micah 4:6, where it says, in that day, said the Lord, I will gather those that have afflicted, I'll gather the lame, the outcasts, I'll make them a strong nation. And that was the word that the Lord gave. And to this day, it stands remnant and true to what God has promised for the war victims. And even though it took me 3 years, because I just did not know where to start. I knew why, but I did not know how. I did not know what to do. Cut the story short. After 3.5 years, going on 4, I went to Sierra Leone, did a feasibility study, did research, went to find out where the war victims are, And then we started the assignment in the Northern Province in the constituency that my dad had been an MP, because my dad had also given a land to people with disabilities at Mabaroka. So it was easy to go and identify some of the war victims. At the time, the project was just for not just war victims, but people with disabilities. For the following year, the Lord said to me that I have called you specifically to work with the war amputees, the war widows, the war orphans, those who are saying, where is our God? We were not born this way. Through the wickedness of man, we became amputees, we became people with disabilities. And so that was how we started off. And the rest is history.
Wow, wow. My sympathy to your family, especially for what happened to your dad. It was a very sad situation, and I just cannot imagine how people felt, with all this going on. And you're here in England. A lot of people had difficulties reaching families and friends, and it must have been a very tough situation for you. And I hope your family are trying their best to recover from such a terrible and horrendous situation. Please accept my sympathy. Right. As we move on, it's been a very challenging times, and most people that set up missions face certain difficulties. What are some of the, even though you're full of passion, I can see you're full of passion, and you love what you do, but what are some of the challenges that you've been faced with during this 13 years of running your mission?
Well, of course, the first challenge we had when we started off, because for the first 3 years, I self-funded the mission between myself and my family. We self-funded the mission, and then in 2011, which is 10 years ago, I brought the mission to the community. So the first thing we met with the challenges was disillusionment. People did not believe that there were genuine charities. So used to have, we don't hear of so like charities. Oh, please, this one this again. So we met with that, but because we had I'd started off Melqosh without asking a penny from the community. And I know what the Lord had said to me in 2007. He said, my church shall fund this project. So when God gives you a vision, he makes provision, he tells you how it's going to be. So my focus was never on human beings. Whilst I know God uses human beings to facilitate his project, my eyes was on the source giver, who is God. And so the first thing we met was, of course, stigmatization, disillusionment, distrust, of charities. And then, of course, lack of community participation to be able to help our brothers and sisters who were affected by the war. That was an ongoing challenge we had. Eventually, we started winning the hearts of some of our community members. Just a pinch of them, I will still add, but at every given time, when there's been a challenge, we've been able to take our challenge to God, and he's always made a way so that year after year, mission after mission, we're able to go beyond our expectations in the fruition of the mission.
Wow. Thank you. A lot of people are skeptical about, you have a lot of skeptics when it comes to charities. Like you said, some of them are saying, which one this now, which other charity this, and then is it a money-making thing? But you've been exceptional. You've done a fantastic work, Faith Okrafo-Smart. You've been exceptional. Right, our viewers, this is the Melvin Metzger Show. We're viewing live from London. We're broadcasting live from the United Kingdom, right here in London. If you've got back the message for your friends, please send them through, and then we can celebrate with them on here, send a birthday wish to them live on here. Faith, your job involves a lot of traveling, because I did my research. And, what has been some of your experiences as far as traveling is concerned, and some of the places you visited, especially in Sierra Leone or in other places? Please share that experience with us.
Well, so Melqosh initially was called Melqosh Mission, and so we had to add the international at the end, because we came to realize that unfortunately, our UK community, and I say it from a very broad based, not just within the Sierra Leoneans, but our UK, even with the Charity Commission, how things are run in the UK, it restricts you from raising funds, and we're not so charity focused or charity minded as opposed to like places like America. So we had to stretch our horizon or broaden our horizons to America in 2013 after doing some back-to-back events in the UK and just barely scraping to get some money to do minute or mediocre missions. We introduced Melqosh to America. We got it registered there, set up office, our headquarters there. And so we started off there. And the good thing about our mission also is that even when we're based in the UK, we have a lot of friends of Sierra Leone, or friends of Melqosh, I would say, that are not Sierra Leoneans. Majority of our funding comes from, unfortunately, I would say, from non-Sierra Leoneans. And so, so we had to go international. And of course, so we have a mission that is run in or operated, you know, the majority of the operations, administration, fundraising is done in the US. And we have a support group here in the UK. And then we do the actual missions in Sierra Leone. So I feel like a brass spider many times because, you know, traveling like maybe 6 or 8 times in the year, or even sometimes even much more. Like I was saying to you last year, I finally got a chance to stay in my home, you know, after 6, 7 years of traveling back to back, you know, barely spending 6 to 8 weeks in one place. And I've gone back and returning. And so it's had its challenges because, of course, it means you've got to sacrifice, especially if you have family as well, leaving children or leaving a child, you know, leaving, you know, loved ones and having to go and face, you know, many times I say people see the glory of charities, or they envy the stories and pictures, but they don't know the sacrifice or the story behind all the things that you have to let go for the furtherance of the mission. So in all, it's been a great experience because it's exposed me to quite a lot of people, and our project is not so just dinner and dance based. That's not how we just get our funding. We've broadened our tentacles so that in pandemics like even like this, we've still been able to be operational because we've had to go international.
Wow. We could actually end the show here. You've said a lot, but that's good. That's good. Very informative. Well, when it comes to the dinner and dance, we do enjoy the dinner and dance because I work very hard and I want to go and dance and then contribute a bit of something. So on that side, I think I like the dinner and dance.
Well, if it was working for us, we would have stayed with that. We realized it wasn't really as productive as we would have wanted to, because, you know, like you people have expensive taste and doing dinner and dance, you know, high expectations. You got to rent places, you got to buy food, drinks. By the time you pay for the cost of doing the event, you barely raise enough to buy a ticket to go to Sierra Leone. So we had to now find a digital way of fundraising, and most of our funding has been digitalized. And we also started doing like Color Purple Sundays in different churches in the UK and in America, wherein people wear purple, go to church, do a Color Purple offering, and, you know, it makes our life so much easy to be able to raise funds, and that has been a blessing.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. We've got a birthday wish right now, just coming to our studios. It's a happy birthday to Aisha Barnes. This is a message that's come from your friend Mariam Abasi. Say, happy birthday, Aisha Barnes. I'm not going to state your age here live on TV, but we'd just like to wish you a happy birthday. Right, back to our show. We've got Faith Okrafo-Smart, the founder and CEO of Melqosh Mission International. Right, Faith, you've done such a good work. It's been brilliant, and you keep doing a good work. Keep up the good work. But also, you've taken some of these kids, some of these amputees off the street, because lots of them were reduced to begging for a living. And most of the girls that You know why I'm laughing. Most of the guys turn to other vices in order for survival. Could you tell us some of the other things you've done? I see you involved with schools as well. Could you just elaborate on that?
Wow. If I was to talk about what we've done in the last 13 years, we wouldn't leave today. So, or we would need to do part 1 to 6. But I would name but a few. I will talk about what we've done in the last 12 months. Last year, March to April, around about this time, of course, we all became aware of the international threat of COVID-19. And so we deemed it fit, because of our experiences with Ebola, that because of our proactiveness in making sure that all the war victims had all the PPEs, which is the personal protective equipment. None of our war victims contacted Ebola last time during the Ebola time. And so we made sure that we knew we needed to move fast. And so last year I had a meeting with my team, and we started off making provision for just Freetown war victims. And we provided just about 100 of them with Veronica buckets and antibacterial wipes. And then I'd done that at the thought. And then I did also that in Maboka in honor of my dad's 16th anniversary of his death. And then I went to bed one day and I heard the Lord say, rice and water. And I was like, what? Rice and water. And then so we started off, and then we did 100 bags of rice, went back to team, did a fundraising on Facebook, raised some funds, and then it ricocheted from that. Within 3 months, between April to May ending, we were able to do a nationwide distribution of a bag of rice, 2 bundles of water, Veronica buckets, antibacterial wipes and soaps, face mask to 753 families across Sierra Leone in all the 16 districts. And so that was how we were able to go nationwide. And we were so gobsmacked that it was during the pandemic that God was able to utilize Melqosh to do his greatest work and for us to be able to go nationwide. And as a result of that, over 5,000 people benefited. When you look at the genetic make or the household composition of between 4 to 6 families per household. So because of the provisions we made, many of the war victims did not starve during the lockdown. Unfortunately, even though the government of Sierra Leone had said they'd made provision for war, people with disabilities, bags of rice, and money, the amputees in Sierra Leone, a good 85% of them did not receive the bag of rice. And God came to their aid. Like I said to you, because we're God-oriented and God-directed, he knows the need ahead of time. And so we were able to do that mission. And then we did our educational mission. I'd done a pound for pound challenge last year, where I said for every pound that I lose, people could donate £1. And so we'd raised about £3,000 from that, and I'd lost about a stone, which I gained immediately when COVID came. But the point is, I raised some money that we're able to do our mission. With the educational mission that we do, we provide, because of the free and quality education that kicked in for the war victims in 2019, I would say 2019 and not 2018, we were now able to say, well, okay, we can now provide like educational materials for the children, like school bags, school uniforms, uniform allowance, shoes, all the educational supplies that they need to go to school, because it's one thing to have a free education, but if they don't have even shoes to go to school, the stereotyping, the stigma that the children of these disadvantaged war victims already experience, we wanted to make sure that they were fully equipped. And so we started that in September, and we did Freetown and McKinney. And then I've just come back from a 3-month mission wherein we were able to go around all the districts of Sierra Leone, and except for places like Bo, Bumbuna, and Kamakue, and Bonds, we were able to go to majority of these towns and we did a nationwide distribution. And as a result, over 1,000 children received these educational supplies. We also do educational scholarships for children, for youths and orphans of war survivors, and we pay their college and university fees. In the next coming months, we're going to be having, no, in the next coming weeks, actually, we're having a new influx of graduates from this sponsor scholarship program that we do. We've had many youths who have graduated from university and college as a result of the provision we make for them. We also did a nationwide cookout during the soul winning mission. We did a nationwide mission because one of the things that the Lord had said to us, that whilst it is good that the war victims have, education, health, provided for them by Melqosh, the winning of their souls unto Christ so that they will have salvation is at the utmost. And that was our utmost agenda when we went to Sierra Leone, and we went nationwide. We went all over the country doing soul winning mission. We did distributions of Bibles for adults, youths, and children, making sure Bibles in every home of war victims across the entire Sierra Leone. All war victims were able to have Bibles in the country. And then we did our first dental health care in January, working in partnership with Dental Health International. It's an organization based in the Netherlands. They partnered with us and were able to provide free dental care for the first time for war survivors since the war ended in Sierra Leone. And they did things like oral hygiene checks, cleaning, extractions where it was necessary, etc. We did that for 2 weeks. And then we continued whilst they left, and we went as we were going to all of these districts doing the soul winning, doing the education, we completed that with health, the medical mission. So we went nationwide and did a nationwide medical mission. Oof, I gotta think about all of that. And then we did an eye mission. We did our first eye mission in February, whilst we were having a Strong Nation conference. That was the first conference we did, bringing war amputees as delegates to Sierra Leone for a 3 days conference to charge them up and empower them onto purpose. And in that time, we were able to provide free, reading glasses for those who needed glasses. We also last month opened up a newly constructed library and resource center that we'd been building for the last 18 months, and we've completed the first phase, and we now have a resource center made available for 70 children. It can take up to 70 to 100 children seated classroom style, and the hall can actually take up to 150 people seated theater style. And so it's now been outfitted with a library. We've opened that, and that is up and running. And then we commission Strong Nation leaders. So it has been, all of this is, we did 12 successful missions in 12 months, doing, separate but equally cascading transformative missions that have been able to equip the war victims, empower them, elongate their lives through health, and transform them to become all that God has required for them to be.
That's a great accomplishment, but we're not going to end the show here. We'll continue. There's more to come from Faith Okrafo-Smart. Where's this library located? Which part of Sierra Leone is it located?
So it's located at Newton. Do you have the pictures or the slides?
I think run through the slides. Maybe our technical team will bring the slides.
Okay, the school is located at Newton Amputee Camp, Mile 3. So it's called Newton Amputee Camp, and it's Camp 1 because there are 3 camps there, 3 amputee resettlement camps there. And it's 3 Mile. It's called 3 Mile. It's a little bit after Waterloo, and it's the first. That's just the first phase. We have other things in the pipeline working within the same environs to provide a proper educational institution for children and orphans of war victims.
I'm running out of words to describe the job you've done. I'm really running out of words to describe the. Are there any family members involved in your mission, the Melqosh Mission International?
My family?
Yes, any family members?
Okay, mom is a doctor, a medical doctor, even though she's retired. But when we do our medical mission, she gets involved in, providing. In fact, she started off the medical arm of the mission. So yes, she's heavily involved. And whilst I am not in town, for example, I was not in Sierra Leone when we did the nationwide COVID-19 response with the bags of rice, and she managed that project on my behalf. And then we also had a younger brother of mine who, when we started off Melqosh Mission, he was a coordinator, but he's now moved on to bigger pastures, working for a bigger international NGO. But yeah, so apart from my mom, no, but we have team members we have employees that we work with. We also have assimilated some of our beneficiaries who are working with, who we've educated, who either have graduated or, in the last 1 or 2 years of their educational university studies, we've assimilated them into our project so that they can, have gainful employment, because in Sierra Leone, we have a lot of educated youths who have studied but don't have employment. So we just don't want to give them education. We also want to train them and also provide employment. Sorry, I've lost you for a moment.
We all have a purpose in life, and let's fulfill that purpose. Relating to Melqosh, is this a purpose fulfilled, or there's more to come? You seem to be involved in so many projects within Melqosh. Is there more to come, or this is where we are at the moment?
I believe we've only just begun, to be honest. We've only just begun. There's so much to do. We owe these war victims a whole lot. The war ended. We just literally commemorated the 30th anniversary of the since the war started, 23rd of March 1991. Many of these war victims have faced atrocities, untold atrocities, one that they would not be able to even talk about. And Sierra Leone owes these people because we have not upheld, Sierra Leone has not upheld the TRC reparation. And so that's why we do what we have to do. I come out, I leave Sierra Leone, we go and spend tens of thousands of pounds and dollars in Sierra Leone, thousands of dollars and pounds. And I literally, on my last day, sitting either at the airport or a sea coach, just evaluating of what we've done. And I feel like, wow, I feel like I've done nothing, because the needs of the people are unlimited. And we have thousands of people who were war victims. In fact, we had over 32,000 war victims after the war ended. 80% of them have passed away because of neglect, governmental neglect, not having any help whatsoever. So we have made it a duty, a purpose, to make sure that we provide a dignity, a life of dignity, however small. And so as a result of that, I feel like we have not even started, because the needs are just so much more. I've lost you there.
Celebrating 13 years, sorry about that. Celebrating 13 years, Melqosh, involvement with Melqosh Mission. Are there any, I know this is COVID, but post-COVID, are there any celebrations planned in Sierra Leone or in the UK or in America? Are there any celebrations planned?
Not necessarily, because every year we have an anniversary coming up. So yesterday was mostly done quietly, just thanking God that we are still relevant, where many charities have been put on hold or halted or are no longer in operation. We have still, in fact, gone and still been extremely proactive like than never before. So it was a time of deep introspection, a time of deep reflection, a time of reassessing, going back to the drawing board, seeing what we've done, what we didn't do, what we could do, and basically know that there's more to do. And how do we go about the 13th year in the Hebrew calendar of any being or institution or a child is the Bar Mitzvah year. So we've entered the Bar Mitzvah year, entering into adulthood. And so for us, it's no longer taking baby steps. We're now looking, okay, how are we able to do sustainable projects for these war victims so that it's not just giving them temporal solutions, but giving them permanent solutions so we can get them off the streets, because many of them still survive by begging on the streets. Even with all that we do, we leave them, they still have to go and survive. They don't have no reparation fund available for them, no monthly welfare for them. And so they only survive by going from place to place, either office or on the streets begging. And we want to change that narrative for them.
The mindset, as the people talk about changing of mindset, people talk about regeneration. How has your mindset tried to change the mindset? Have there benefits from that for future generation? Have we got a mindset that will benefit the future generation? I know you're doing your bit, you're doing your part, but have we got the mindset? Are we evolving?
Are you talking about the war victims
or
the war
victims? Yes, the war victims.
The war victims, okay,
yes.
Specifically the war victims. Well, the conference that we had, which I mentioned earlier, it was titled The Strong Nation, and we are building and renewing their mindset, because for people to heal, it must start from their soul and their minds, and then it gets to their body, and they get into the physical being of being finding themselves still worthy, that they can be contributors to society and not just partakers or recipients in mainstream society. And so we're changing mindsets, we're mentoring them, we're strengthening them, we're building their confidence, we're rediscovering skills, innate skills that are within them, intrinsic skills and abilities that they themselves were not aware that they had, and they're bringing it to the fore, and also making sure that they pursue, because every one of us, we have a purpose to fulfill on earth. The fact that they're even still here after war, after mudslide, after Ebola, even during COVID, that means God ain't done with them. God is not yet done with them. So they must fulfill, their purpose. And so mindset, there's been a mindset shift, and the work is ongoing and continuous.
Tell us about your book. Let's move away from the mission. Tell us about your book. I know you're an author and you've got a book that's on Amazon at the moment. Tell us about your book. What's in this book? What do people expect to read when they buy this book?
Okay, so the book in essence was a free gift to the world. It was actually I printed over 500 copies. It's called Melqosh's Burst Forth Short Stories and Poems. And the book is meant to, after people read it, the essence of it is for people to break out of their limitation. I actually have a copy of the book here. Let me see. That's a copy. You could see it's well aired because I've read it over 20 times, even though I'm the writer of the book. But it says breaking forth from limitations and bringing forth new beginnings. Many a times we are bound by maybe challenges, things we've gone through in the past, things we inherited, struggles day to day, and just life happens. And many times we get barricaded and caged with all of these challenges that we face in life. And the book was written in 2015. And some of the poems and short stories in that book stem from messages that I had ministered to when I used to pastor a church in the UK. And they stem from like 2008. So I have messages there that go back far back as 7, 8, 10 years of poems that I'd written before. And it is to challenge people to be able to break and burst forth from their shackles and be able to. So if you see the picture here of the book, it actually has a hand busting, like busting from the grave. So you're actually busting out. Busting, it's violent. Busting is aggressive. But when you want to see change, when you want your life to be restored, and you know everything is working against you, you have to arise and burst forth to become all that you are meant to be.
Wow, you've done, that's great. Ladies and gentlemen, to all our viewers, Melqosh Burst Forth is on Amazon. That's a book by author Faith Okrafo-Smart. We're live on the Melvin Metzger show. We've got another birthday request for patient Stella Fred. This is a birthday wish coming over to you from Sarah. So happy birthday, patient Stella Fred, and best wishes to you, my dear. Right. Faith, we continue. We spoke a lot about the mission, your book, and the good job that you've been doing. Have we, as a country, move forward? I know I've asked you that before, but I'd like to stress again that the war will only be over when we do right with the war survivors or the war amputees. Can you just shed a bit of light on that, please?
Okay. So your question is that as we as a nation or country
Yes.
move forward,
Yes.
we have certainly moved, but I wouldn't say it is forward. Movement does not mean productivity. Movement does not mean progression. And so there are times people could move and still come back to the same spot. In the area, we are at a pinnacle time and a pivotal time in Sierra Leone, where we're just about to celebrate 60 years of independence. But I ask my people, and many of us, we know what we mutter behind the scenes, that are we truly independent? Have we been emancipated? Are we being liberated? And the answer is no, because for as long as we continue to remain under the coffers of international aid, international help, you name it, support, loan, we have not yet evolved into what Sierra Leone should be 60 years after independence. As a people, we also have a lot of ground to make up for, because I believe that the war played a great part, but I also believe that we also have Sierra Leoneans, we need to have an identity check. We need to have a review of ourselves as natives of Sierra Leone. For example, for me, I say the war has not yet ended. We've had 30 years, we just commemorated 30 years of the war starting, but for many people, the war has not ended. For the amputees who have to beg under the scorching sun every day for them to put food on their tables, for the daughters who have to go and put their back on the ground to sleep with people so that they could bring food on their table, the war is still going on in Sierra Leone. And until Sierra Leone as a nation arise and provides a life of dignity for the war victims, those who pay the greatest price, we will never be able to restore the dignity of Sierra Leone. We owe it to ourselves to be able to do restitution. We owe it as a nation to be our brother's keeper. We take care of strangers, but we do not take care of our own. Many times in Sierra Leone, we're full of facade. We want people to think we're the diamond of Africa. We want people to think that, yes, we have nice, beautiful beaches. Sierra Leone is beautiful, yes, but it's also got its ugly side. And until we clean with soul foods, that the smell and the stench will always be coming to the fore. And then we would never be able to take away the stench, even though we have a beautiful scenario, beautiful mountain, beautiful hills, beautiful landscape. We still have soul foods. We have the sores of Sierra Leone that needs to be healed. And it can only be healed by Sierra Leoneans, not international NGOs, not, many a times we're thinking, well, we need help. Oh, we can't do it. We are at the age where our parents were, and they served Sierra Leone. And they're the true patriots who, at the turn of independence, wanted Sierra Leone to become all that it should be as an independent state. Unfortunately, we have not really moved far from or much from what our parents did, because there's been a generational gap of change makers in Sierra Leone, patriotic Sierra Leoneans, not people who go there to line their pockets with money, but those who have a genuine interest for the progress of the country and its people. And so we as a people, I don't believe that we have grown or we have moved forward. As a matter of fact, we have retrogressed, and the onus is on us. The onus is on us. We have to change the narrative for our country. And that is why Melqosh, in our own little way, we do what we can. One, to make sure that war will never come up again in Sierra Leone, because if we have a ricochet or a recycling of all the discontentment of the war victims passing the bad and poisonous stories to their children, we don't want another uproar. So we make sure we change lives, change their narratives, so that we would have a negative outcome. A positive outcome. So as Sierra Leoneans, I say the onus is on us. I believe that we focus on vain things, temporal things, which are not lasting. But if we focus on actually bringing not only restorative justice, but social and financial justice into the lives of the deprived, into the lives of the neglected and abandoned, we will see a shift in Sierra Leone. I would liken that to Israel. You go to Israel, as much as it has its own challenges and everything, not one beggar sleeps on the street of Israel. There is no homeless person. They open their doors. I would give a narrative whilst I was in Sierra Leone quickly. Was doing some work in our home, and then one of my assistants took the curtain and turned the curtain, the right side of the curtain, the beautiful side of the curtain, turned it to the outside. And then inside the living room was where you have the back end that you don't want to see. So I was like, what did you do? It's not meant to be like that. And he said, well, that's how we do in Sierra Leone. So I was like, really? So being the introspective person that I am, I sat down and I said, no wonder the country is like this, because our mindset is always to make the outside look beautiful and the inside is rotten. And that is what we're facing in Sierra Leone. We beautify Sierra Leone on the outside. We help foreigners. We want to give the squeaky clean image of the country, yet still we're not putting in the work that we need to cleanse the rot in Sierra Leone. It's about time we arise, Sierra Leoneans.
Right, viewers, you've heard for yourself. The onus is on us Sierra Leoneans to support each other, to empower each other, and to build each other up. The onus is on us. We have to do it for ourselves. And Faith Okrafo-Smart, I'm going to ask you one more question, as time is not on our side. My last question, you may have touched on this somewhere along the way, but what does the future, the next 13 years, what does it hold for Melqosh Mission? What's the plan for the next 13 years? So our viewers can, you can share this with our viewers.
Well, I'm not going to be a Joseph and share my dreams for Melqosh, but I will certainly say that watch the space, and we have just begun. And I had a dream to help 1,000 children last year through education. My dream is to do 1,500 children. I have many dreams, and one by one, step by step, with the favor and the glory of God, we will accomplish every step. So what I will say is stay tuned. For those who may not know the work that we do, go to our social media handles on Facebook, Melqosh Mission. You will see pictured in Sote Unataya. You will see Sote Unataya. You could also just Google Melqosh Mission International. We have our website, which is melqosh.org, or just Google Melqosh, and you will see to your heart's content evidence of the work that we've been doing in the last 13 years. And if you want to know more, you could also email us at info@melqosh.org or faith@melqosh.org. I want to thank everyone for listening to our small story of the change that we're making in Sierra Leone. And I hope that this message has challenged our viewers. Every one of you that is listening to my voice, the fact that you're here means you're an overcomer. Over 300 spermicide were released at your time of conception. You made it. And because you made it, you have a vision, you have a plan that has been given, a blueprint from God. God's plan is on the inside of you. His purpose in the inside of you. Like my book says, burst forth unto purpose. Shalom.
Right. Faith Okrafo-Smart, it's been a pleasure having you on the Melvin Metzger show. To all my viewers, we all have a purpose. Let's fulfill that purpose. Thank you very much, Faith, and may God richly bless you. Thank you to all my viewers, and good night. Thank you.
Thank you.